Hey guys, it's me, Daniel Hutchins, and today we are going to be talking about some stuff from our friend Screen Rant. Yes, today from Screen Rant, we are going to be doing a mega long article discussion. Yes, a mega long article discussion, which ranges anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour. So, we're going to start off with talking about Thanos. Yes, Thanos. So MCU still can't escape Thanos even after Marvel Phase 5. Okay, so even though Thanos was defeated in Endgame, the MCU still won't get rid of him in Phase 5, as his influence will still be felt. Okay, so Thanos met his fate from Endgame after serving as the primary antagonist through the Infinity Saga. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe might not be over with him yet, and he will still keep influencing for MCU Phase 5. The superhero genre has gained lots of force in the last decade, and particularly with the MCU, they have contributed to a big part of that success. The first three phases, collectively known as the Infinity Saga, has helped shape the genre it is now known as today, and carefully paved the way for the arrival of Thanos, culminating in the biggest superhero battle in Avengers Endgame. Although Thanos' presence in MCU and role as the main antagonist was first teased in the post-credit scene of the Avengers, where he was revealed to be the one behind the Chitauri invasion led by Loki, who was also tasked with retrieving the Tesseract. He was probably introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy. From there, he was revealed to be the adoptive father of Nebula and Gamora, and also the benefactor of Ronan the Accuser, that sent to get the Power Stone for him, thus setting up his quest for the Infinity Stones and Infinity Gauntlet. After another brief appearance from post-credit scenes of Age of Ultron, Thanos has become the threat to defeat the Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. As he finally got the stones, he fulfilled his plans of wiping out half a life in the universe. Related to this article, Returnals explains why MCU dropped Thanos' origin story. Well, we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. Well, Thanos and his armies were finally defeated in Avengers Endgame, after the last surviving heroes went back in time to get the Infinity Stones before he did. Undid, Thanos snapped, and Iron Man sacrificed himself with the one final snap, and effectively destroyed the Mad Titan. However, the MCU is still dealing with the consequences of all this, and even though Thanos is now gone, he will still keep impacting future phases, particularly noted Phase 5, as Nova movie is reportedly in the works. In order to tell his story and origin, the MCU would have to go back to the Infinity War and destruction of the Nova Corps, of which Thanos was responsible. Okay, so in comics, Nova's real name is Richard Rider, and he's a high school student selected by Diane Rominde as his replacement at the Nova Corps. He's the only surviving member. Rider is then given uniform and powers of the Nova Centurion. Even though he's got a little instruction on how to use them, he went on to become the superhero he is today. Now Rominde has already been introduced in MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy, where he was played by John C. Reilly, and Nova was planned at some point and appear in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, but in order to tell his origin story correctly, the movie would have to go back to Infinity War, where Thanos, when looking to acquire the Power Stone, which was under protections of the Nova Corps, killed every member as well as half of the population of Xandor. This means Nova's story will be inevitably linked to Thanos, and so Phase 5 cannot really escape the Mad Titan yet. Now, of course, Thanos played a very important part in the history of MCU, But with this universe we're now dealing with, other concepts such as multiverse and upcoming madness, and introducing new characters, and it feels redundant and even tiring to go back to Thanos in the near future. No matter how necessary it is to be in the story, however, if the Nova movie really is to happen, Thanos and Avengers Infinity War will only be there to explain that specific part of Nova's story, and it won't depend on him entirely. Okay, so that's just a little bit of some connection as far as how Nova movie is going to still tie in with Phase 5 and how MCU cannot escape Thanos. Alright, so there's more, guys. There is always more. Okay. We are going to be talking about the Ahsoka show again. Yes, Ahsoka. So Ahsoka's show has become Star Wars' most important project. So Hayden Christensen is set to appear in Ahsoka Disney Plus series, and his appearance means this is the most important Star Wars project of all. This was from 10 hours ago. So as I had mentioned, the Ahsoka Disney Plus TV show has become Star Wars' most important project of the year 2022. Star Wars has been best known as a blockbuster film franchise, but in reality it's been far more than that. It's been a rich transmedia history that runs all the way back to the tie-in with Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was published back in 1978. But in all honesty, in all truth, the potential of transmedia is now being realized, with Lucasfilm creating popular live-action Disney Plus shows. Now, The Mandalorian launched alongside Disney Plus, and it was a hit for the streaming service, with the introduction of Baby Yoda, now known as Grogu, proving to be the major draw. Now, two upcoming shows spin out of Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka, with the former starring as a resurrected bounty hunter, and the later focused on Anakin Skywalker's former Padawan. There's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show in the works featuring Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen reprising their iconic roles as Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and there's a prequel to Rogue One, Star Wars story called Andor, and another show, The Acolyte, that's set well before the prequel era. More animated projects are on the way as well, including Star Wars Bad Batch Season 2. Related to this article, why Hayden Christensen's return as Anakin Vader in Ahsoka show. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So now with Hayden Christensen confirmed to be returning in Ahsoka, that making the series the most important of them all, simply because in functional terms though, Ahsoka now serves as connective tissue between every branch of Star Wars. Ahsoka Tano was a prequel-era Jedi who trained under Anakin Skywalker, survived the Order 66, and has played a role in the Galactic Civil War. Now she'll be returning in a series set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. She trained under Anakin in one time period, fought Vader in another, and now there's the potential she'll be encountering Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost for the third. Now the whole Star Wars saga comes together in Ahsoka, particularly given the fact that the rise of the First Order is already being set up in Ahsoka's sister show, The Mandalorian. Okay, but Ahsoka's impact has been far greater than even that. But because she's also drawn together different mediums as well, Ahsoka is a central character in Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, both animated projects. She only made her live-action debut in Mandalorian Season 2, played by Rosario Dawson. Now her character will be appearing alongside Hayden Christensen himself, the star of the George Lucas films, not only to do multiple time periods meetings with the character of Ahsoka, but so do several different Star Wars mediums. This could also mean live-action flashbacks to the Clone Wars themselves. Lucasfilm's various films and TV shows are all very exciting, but none of them serve the essential purpose of Ahsoka, to bring together every Star Wars time period thus far, and as well as multiple mediums in a single event. Star Wars has always been known for its transmedia approaches, but never before has it embraced it in such a confident and committed manner. It's going to be fascinating and awesome to see how this all plays out. Okay, so that's just a little bit of something I want to show to you guys, or talk about Ahsoka and how important it is for Star Wars next year. Yeah, okay. Here's more, guys. I just gotta find some stuff. Okay, we're gonna be talking about the Eternals again. Yes, the Eternals again. The Eternals, is the Eternals suitable for kids, and how violent is it? Well, that's a good question. The Eternals is the next installment of the MCU franchise, but how violent is the Eternals, and is this movie really suitable for children? This is from 12 hours ago. So, the question is Eternals suitable for children? That's a good question. And the next installment to the MCU Phase 4 introduces some exciting new heroes. Then, while Marvel movies are typically aimed to fans of all ages, parents might want to take caution before bringing their kids to see Eternals. With some bloodless violence, an instant of explicit nonverbal language, and a brief sexuality scene, Eternals might not be suitable for all the ages. When half of the world's population was returned thanks to Tony Stark's sacrifice, it triggered this emergence, waking of an immortal race of aliens known as the Eternals. The Eternals introduced a new roster of heroes from Marvel Comics, as well as the villainous race of the Deviants. The Eternals' sworn nemesis. Now, the Eternals have been heralded for diversity and cast of boldness for its storytelling by famous creators in the past of Marvel, but that might not be enough to save it from being the lowest rated MCU movie from Rotten Tomatoes. More on that later, but of course, you check that out on one of my other videos. I talked about it. So anyway, related, Eternals, how powerful are the MCU's Deviants compared to Thanos? Well, that's a good question. Well, we're not answering that. We're going to keep going. So, in the United States, Eternals has been given a PG-13 rating. While there's nothing new for Marvel movies, the Eternals PG-13 rating isn't like any of its predecessors. The MPAA's explanation features a few givens, though, when it comes to superhero movies: fantasy, violence, action, and some language. But what sets the Eternals rating apart is the brief sexuality tag. Now, as this largely targets fans of all ages, the MCU has mostly stayed away from sexual content, aside from few kisses here or there. But however, Eternals is still only rated PG-13, meaning what brief sexuality the movie has won't be explicit, and indeed it is not. While it is a sex scene, the two characters are only shot from the side and the mid-waist up, and nothing beyond the arm, back, and shoulders are shown from the few seconds. Still, parents might want to err on the side of caution when it comes to bringing their kids depending on their age. Okay. When it comes to violence, Eternals trailer guarantees there'll be some epic fight scenes, as the Eternals fight to stop the Deviants from wreaking havoc on Earth. Monsters are left in their wake, and this movie isn't afraid to show some monster guts and dead bodies. Now, of course, Eternals also depicts historical events that are often quite violent. However, as with all PG-13 movies, all the action and battle scenes are completely bloodless. Older kids who have seen Marvel movies before that are more likely able to handle the violence of Eternals, but some moments may prove a little scary for younger crowds. So, at least if they tend to be more sensitive to those sorts of things. There's also one last way in which Eternal separates itself from the MCU predecessors, and that's the colorful language and the manner of speaking. There's the moment on the private jet glimpsed from the trailers in which one of their characters flips the middle finger at one another, and non-verbal, but it's certainly a bit of surprise to see that in a Marvel movie. especially given the last time the characters made the same gesture was Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy. It was cleverly blurred out though, but of course, clearly Marvel's testing the waters by getting a little more mature with some of their films. While that's long overdue though, stricter parents may want to consider the mature content as a whole. But Eternals also boasts a pretty hefty runtime at 2 hours and 37 minutes. Eternals might be a bit of a marathon for young ones in a theater. The lack of familiar heroes and more complicated plots may make it difficult for kids who are their first time to sit through a heavy runtime. Of course, especially when some critics found the length and pacing of this film difficult for themselves. Adding to that, the runtime is in fact that Eternals also boasts 2 post-credit scenes. When it comes to deciding whether the Eternals is suitable for children, parents should take caution. Eternal sexual violent scenes and epic length meant that the movie may be a little too mature for the younger audience. So I'm just saying, this is what they're saying. So, yeah, anyway. Now we're going to do some more, guys. Now, since I had answered that question for y'all. Alright, there's going to be more. Okay, so now we're talking about Morbius again. Now, I know it's been a while since we talked about Morbius, but now, according to Morbius trailers, they have supported Spider-Man Universe Sinister Six theories. Now, I also had mentioned about the Sinister Six in a former video that I've done in the past. But of course, in the line of the new Morbius trailer supports the theory that Sony's Spider-Man universe is building toward the Sinister Six getting their own movie at some point. This was from 12 hours ago. So in line with the new Morbius trailer supports this theory that Sony's Spider-Man villain universe is building toward the Sinister Six movie. It was actually the first Morbius trailer that provided evidence on this idea in the first place with his Michael Keaton cameo. Given that Keaton has played the Vulture in MCU, there has been a strong suspicion that Sony was putting 2 Spider-Man villains together to set up the Sinister Six. Now, the first Morbius trailer didn't outright confirm Keaton's Spider-Man universe character and some same ones he played in Homecoming, but it was widely recognized and believed that his casting in Morbius couldn't be a coincidence. There's also the matter of Venom, Tom Hardy, his overall importance to Sony's universe, and after what we've seen in Morbius, Sony will move forward to 2023's Kraven the Hunter, which will see Aaron Taylor Johnson portray Sergei Kravenov, the titular Spider-Man villain, and classic Sinister Six member. Just to the mere existence of these characters in the world was enough to make the Sinister Six feel like the most obvious future for the Sony Spider-Man villain universe moving forward. Now, related to this article is Morbius Easter eggs can give Green Goblin an MCU future beyond No Way Home. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So the second Morbius trailers have piled on more intriguing lines with Michael Keaton's character, where he's told Morbius, Jared Leto, "You and I should stay in touch," assuming that his character is indeed the Vulture. Now, this seems fit quite well with Sinister Six theories, as though it has hinted that Morbius and Vulture are seeing each other again in the near future. The idea of 2 classic Spider-Man villains being in contact would certainly be more of a big step toward the Sinister Six becoming a more reality. Plus, on top of that, there may be other characters who grab Vulture's interest off screen, or they may have yet to meet him. It could be the next stop for wherever Kravenov's story takes him for Kraven and the Hunter in 2023, because that's respectively when that movie's coming out. But it's worth noting that the Vulture showing up may not be the only Sinister Six clue to Morbius trailer. Now, Marvel Comics Easter eggs on newspapers have confirmed that Sony's Spider-Man universe boasted some more villains than the ones that the movies have formally introduced. Both have confirmed Rhino and Black Cat are around somewhere, and they could also be available for membership. Given that the 2 have been recruited by the Vulture or a different character, would make sense, though, even though they don't have their own movies, at least not yet anyway. So Sony may have no intention of giving every member of their movie before assembling this team. Now, there's no guarantee that every character in Sony is going to be getting their own movie before this team. But of course, what Sony has planned for Morbius and Vulture in regard to the Sinister Six may depend largely on what ultimately happens with the MCU and the multiverse, and how the MCU's Vulture is in Morbius, what Venom's jump to the MCU in Venom 2 has meant, and how the multiverse disaster in Spider-Man No Way Home comes about, and how all these mysteries are tied in, and how could this have major implications for the potential Sinister Six movie. Now, the exact placements for all these characters in the multiverse can determine who is on the table for Vulture's team of villains, since Vulture is notably going to be one of the leaders of the Sinister Six. Alright, so Morbius is on 2022, January 21st, 2022, and Kraven the Hunter is in January 13th, 2023. Okay, so we have two Sony movies confirmed for the next 2 years in January. January 21st, Morbius, and January 13th, Kraven the Hunter. So, that's just telling you guys that in the next 2 years, there's two confirmed villain movies that are going to be coming for Sony in Spider-Man universe, Spider-Man villain universe. Alright, so, anyway, there's going to be more, guys. There's always going to be more. I'm not going to leave you all hanging because, like I said, there is a lot of stuff in comic book universe. So yeah, I'm just trying to find some stuff. Now this is something that's probably right up your alley. When will the Eternals be available on Disney Plus for free? Now that's a good question. So the Eternals is finally set, as we said, for November the 5th, which is tomorrow. And when it will be available to stream on Disney Plus for free. That's what we're finding out. And this was 14 hours ago. So here's when Eternals will be available for Disney Plus for free. Now, as the MCU has ushered in the Phase 4, Marvel's third film of 2021 dives into the millennia-long history of the Eternals, an immortal alien race who's been secretly living on Earth. But when Hulk snapped and Avengers Endgame triggered the emergence, the Eternals must defend humanity from the evil Deviants. Now, directed by critically acclaimed filmmaker Clouseau, the film has garnered mixed critical reviews from this early screening, with bold approaches captivating some but leaving others cold. The Eternals was originally slated for a release of November 6th of 2020, but because of coronavirus, or aka COVID-19 pandemic, last year, this pushed it. So, of course, Marvel's shift of the MCU Phase 4 release dates has kind of moved all around. Again, you can see that on one of my other videos. But it's also scheduled for an exclusive theatrical release on November the 21st. No, November 2021, sorry. November 2021. Alright, so, but it will also still make its way to Disney Plus streaming platform at a later date. And the question is, when will that happen? So because since we already know the Eternals is coming out tomorrow, we're going to find out when it's going to become free on Disney Plus. Okay, so related to this article is, does the Eternals have a post-credit scene and how many? We're not talking about that right now, we're talking about other stuff. But of course, after Black Widow's simultaneous theatrical release and premiere streaming access issues, Disney has announced that its remaining 2021 releases will have an exclusive 45-day theatrical run before they can be available for streaming without additional fees. Now, since Eternals is coming to theaters on November the 5th, that means that Eternals will likely be available for Disney Plus starting on December the 20th. Okay, December the 20th. So mark your calendars. That is probably when the Eternals will likely be available to Disney Plus members. However, since there is no official announcement yet, there are still other dates to consider. Now, for instance, Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings is the first MCU film to experience this release format. Again, it's premiered on September the 3rd, yet it will also be added streaming platform on November the 12th, which is next Friday. So, next Friday, you'll be able to see Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings on Disney+. Now, while the schedule might have been adjusted to the parts of service's 2-year anniversary, though the Eternals is not necessarily included on this celebration, there is still the chance that it will take the film 70 days before becoming free. Marking another possible date can be January 14th of 2022. Now that is another date you can probably mark on the calendar, because that might be what might happen. What might happen is it might not come on December the 20th, and if it doesn't come on December the 20th, then it will come on January the 14th. So, just keeping you guys informed. But on the other hand, although this is less likely, the Eternals might follow Black Widow's release schedule. It has been the Disney Plus premiere access since July the 9th, but it took 90 days before that became free for all subscribers. Now, should the Eternals adopt the pattern at most, it'll be made available for free viewing by February 3rd, which is another date you can mark on the calendar in case that were to happen. Now, you have 3 possible dates, guys. You have December 20th, you have January 14th, and you also have February 3rd. Okay, keep those all in note. So, the Eternals' early critical reception is divisive, with some criticizing Marvel for limiting Zoe's directorial style with the narrative formulas, and others commenting on her film being the least Marvel of the franchise, with some celebrating that the fact of others disliking it, with that and arguably makes more sense, because, stick to the 45-day model, this will allow Disney to widen its film's reaches to all people across the world, so that audiences will not simply be influenced by the review bombings of the Eternals as received as lately by people who are namely critics. Of course, instead, they can experience the film at the height of its popularity, and now even catering to those who were still wary about going to theaters during these post-pandemic times. Okay, just when you guys all know that. So that is when we're possibly going to be seeing the Eternals free on Disney+. Okay, now I'm just going to see if there's any more stuff to catch you guys up on. Like I said, Screen Rant is a really, really popular, informative website. We're just trying to see what else there is. Well, I pretty much went through the big articles from the Screen Rant originals. So I'm going to go to the movie news. Okay. So now we're going to be talking about Star Wars again. Yes, Star Wars. Star Wars has revealed new details of the Attack of the Clones, ending time gaps. Okay, so an excerpt from the new Star Wars novels, Queen's Hope, explores the time jumps between the Battle of Geonosis and the wedding of Anakin and Padme. This was from 5 hours ago. So, the upcoming Star Wars book that was further explaining the details surrounding the time gap at the end of Attack of the Clones Episode 2, the first book of E.K. Johnston's Amidala series, Queen's Shadow, was published way back in March of 2019. This novel has further explored the inner workings of Padme's transition from the Nabooian Queen to Galactic Senator. The second novel, Queen's Peril, was released in June of 2020. However, this story was a prequel of Queen's Shadow and took place partly simultaneously with Episode 1, Phantom Menace. The final book in the series will be released on April the 5th of 2022. This will take place primarily between Attack of the Clones Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Queen's Hope, which will see Padme's story continue into Clone Wars as she adapts not only to being a wartime senator, but to a recent secret marriage to Anakin Skywalker. Now, the marriage of Padme and Anakin is seen and overlooked at times, but at the end in the Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Now, the film showcases the built-in relationship between these two characters after being reunited on Coruscant in the opening act. Following several assassination attempts on Padme, Anakin was assigned to protect her as she returns to her homeworld on Naboo. While there, they two fall in love before eventually being whisked away on an adventure to the planet Geonosis to save Anakin's master Obi-Wan Kenobi. The ensuing climatic battle is the spark that triggers the Clone Wars, and Anakin loses his right arm in a fight with the Sith, Count Dooku. Following those events, the film cuts to Naboo sometime after the fight and shows Anakin now with a mechanical arm, and Padme being married with R2-D2 and C-3PO as the only witnesses. Now, talk about awkward. Yes, awkward. So, related to this article, Star Wars The Acolyte working title and the lead character reportedly revealed. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So, from new excerpts of Johnson's Queen's Hope has re-released on Star Wars website, more so that the details have been revealed about what actually occurred between the Battle of Geonosis and Anakin and Padme's wedding. While it still isn't entirely clear how much time has passed between those events, the excerpt reveals that the couple returned to Naboo shortly after the battle, as Padme's recovering from her wounds and Anakin's adjusting to his mechanical arm. The excerpt details that Padme and Anakin's individual experiences on the morning of their wedding day. Anakin visits the shrine to Qui-Gon Jinn, while Padme goes on a swim in a lake before being visited by Nabooian Queen Jamila. Now, the Queen asked Padme to rescue 5 members of the Torada Collective who were trapped behind enemy lines when this war began. Padme accepts her mission and recruits Anakin by promising they'll be back in time for the ceremony that evening. Of course, additional to this, the excerpt details that exact moment Anakin knew he wanted to marry Padme. It read that Anakin had made the decision in the kitchen of his stepfather's house while watching his stepbrother Owen and his wife Beru prepare lunch. This call to adventure for Anakin and Padme on their wedding day has also noted some new additions to Star Wars canon, which is sure to add some further depth to the bond that the two share. Exploring the further details of Anakin and Padme's adventures together is the exact kind of material that makes the myriad of the newer Star Wars novels so intriguing to the fans of the series. As the final chapter of this trilogy, Queen's Hope was poised to bring the most emotional weight and the personal finality to her character of Padme before her eventual tragedy that awaits in her final act in Revenge of the Sith, aka Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. Okay, so that's what that is. So there's more, guys. Right now, the time check is 33 minutes. So we're actually timing this out pretty well. So we're just gonna find something else. Okay. Alright. We are trying to find something, guys. We are trying to find something. Now we're going to visit the Eternals again, because the Eternals are really, really big in the universe right now. Eternals director has celebrated Marvel movie release in an emotional post. Now, Clozo said she's eternally grateful to Marvel fans in her emotional Instagram post ahead of the film's wide release 12 hours ago. So Clozo, director of Marvel's Eternals, celebrates the release of the latest Marvel film in the emotional post to her Instagram. Eternals tells the story of an immortal race of heroes known as the Eternals, who've been secretly living on Earth for thousands of years. When an evil force known as the Deviants threatens Earth's peaceful existence, the Eternals must come out of their hiding and band together to defeat them. From this release was the very first trailer from the get-go. Eternals promised to be a slightly different kind of movie than Marvel fans were expecting, but not to worry, to tackle the ambitious scope of the film and capture the story's more ethereal energy, Marvel tapped Clouseau, the indie filmmaker best known for Academy Award-winning Nomadland, to direct. Now, although this film has not been officially released worldwide, well, it's gonna be out tomorrow in the USA. So, Eternals has already been generating some headlines in the current position as the worst reviewed MCU film ever on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, you can see that on one of my other videos. Check that on your own time. But related, does Eternals have the post-credit scene and how many? We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So the emotional post to her Instagram, Clouseau celebrates the release of her new film. She says she's eternally grateful to Marvel as well as the cast, the crew, to making it possible. Featuring this creative piece of fan art, Zoe's caption has referred to her film as her love child. She also praises the Marvel fans around the world who are anxiously awaiting the film's official release. You can check out Zoe's Instagram post below. Of course, you gotta go to her Instagram, and it's actually an Eternals poster. And it has 12,000 likes. But that's probably going to change, so don't be fooled by that. But while also critics' reviews have been greatly mixed thus far, it is clear that Zoe and others involved in making this film have made great affection to this project. As they've been proven with many films in the past, the critics' score on Rotten Tomatoes can occasionally be different than the audience score. It's entirely possible the notion that, upon the film's release, general audiences will find the film much more enjoyable than the critics do. Well, that's always the truth. The people who see the film are the ones that matter, not the critics. Now, regardless of how Eternals goes down with the audience when it releases, Zoe's made it clear that she believes this film is proud of it. Ultimately, though, Eternals seems to represent an interesting departure from the typical kinds of Marvel movies and features that are a way of underrepresented characters, including the first deaf superhero and LGBTQ superhero. Even though Eternals is unlikely to receive the same level of critical audience acclaim as, say, The Avengers Endgame, Zoe is a filmmaker, so she makes an interesting choice to direct an MCU film. It's hopefully indicative to the diverse and out-of-the-box style directors that will helm future Marvel projects. Now, Eternals releases tomorrow, so, again, if you want to see it, go and see it. Then let me know in the comments below. Alright, there's going to be more. Just have to see what else there is. Wow, this is crazy. Okay. It seems like there's a ton of Eternals stuff on Screen Rant, so I'm trying to find someone else. Oh my gosh, everywhere I turn, it's like Eternals. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm probably going to have to switch websites if I don't see anything. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm not... Okay, so now we're going to be talking about Hawkeye again, because I know it's been a little while since we talked about Hawkeye. So Haley Steinfeld is expected to use real arrows on Hawkeye. Now, Kate Bishop actress Haley Steinfeld has underwent some extensive archery training because she was expected to use real arrows in the upcoming MCU series Hawkeye. This is from 11 hours ago. So Kate Bishop actress Haley Steinfeld expected to use real arrows on MCU series Hawkeye. Marvel is going to return to live action Disney Plus 6-episode series we know as Hawkeye. Following the first foray of the animation from What If, the miniseries will premiere on November the 24th, with 2 episodes which will conclude during the week of Christmas on December the 22nd. So Jeremy Renner has been portraying the MCU's Master Archer since his cameo appearance in 2011 Thor. And now he's finally receiving his well-known solo debut, created by Mad Men alum Jonathan Igla, and is based on Marvel Comics by Matt Fraction and David Aja. Now Hawkeye picks up with Clint Barton Renner after he's been on a dark path as Ronin from Avengers Endgame, as he heads back to New York City to celebrate Christmas with his family. Now Clint's confronted by enemies from his past and is forced to team up with this young superfan we know as Kate Bishop, portrayed by Steinfeld, to make her first MCU debut. Related to this article is Marvel answers the big question from Hawkeye's first trailer. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So in recent interviews with Entertainment Weekly, Steinfeld has discussed her extensive preparation to star in the new Disney Plus series, including watching videos of professional archers and taking lessons from actual instructors. After all that training, Steinfeld headed to Atlanta to begin filming her show. Of course, upon arrival, her co-star, Jeremy Renner, unexpectedly informed her that she wouldn't even use real arrows on MCU's show. Read what Steinfeld had to say below. I wanted the archery to be like second nature by the time I got out of Atlanta, the shoot for the first time we met. Jeremy was like, listen, you're going to get there, you're not even shooting a real arrow, it's all CGI. But I was just still grateful to have the mechanics down. Now, though Steinfeld's commitment to the role is admirable, it's unfortunate she won't be able to showcase her finely honed archer skills on Hawkeye. Now, this show has wisely avoided using real arrows on sets for safety purposes and adds them by filming during post-production using CGI. Now, however, this anecdote is the prime example of the type of enthusiasm Steinfeld will bring to Kate Bishop, the character whose introduction to the MCU is long overdue. Now, many fans feel, although there is a strong consensus that Steinfeld is the perfect fit for bringing her budding archer to life. The anticipation of Steinfeld's MCU debut was already at an all-time sky high, especially since fans know that her character will likely be taking over the Hawkeye mantle in the future, similar to how Black Widow and with Falcon Winter Soldier has also passed off the torches. The same applies for Hawkeye. Now, Steinfeld should get the hang of her CGI arrows in no time, as she continues her path to becoming the Avenger she is destined to be, as long as Valentina Fortain doesn't mess it up. So, again, there's going to be more, guys. So now I'm going to be switching off of Screen Rant, and I'm going to be going to CBR. Okay, because I pretty much maxed out all the information I could from reading you guys off Screen Rant. So now we're going to be talking about stuff from comicbook.com. Okay, so CBR.com, otherwise known as comicbook.com, Wonder Woman's Gal Gadot to play the live-action Snow White's Evil Queen. Now, Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot is in her final negotiation to play the Evil Queen in Disney's live-action adaptation of Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. This was from 10 hours ago. So Disney's upcoming live-action adaptation from the classic 1930 Snow White and Seven Dwarfs appears to have found its main villain, the Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot. Now, according to the Deadline, Gadot has already currently in her final negotiation to portray the Evil Queen, also known as the Wicked Queen, in Disney's new Snow White movie directed by Mark Webb, who also did The Amazing Spider-Man, 500 Days of Summer, and also the produced by Mark Platt, La La Land and Trial of Chicago 7. The film stars Rachel Zegler, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, West Side Story as Snow White herself. Now, production is expected to begin sometime next year. Now, notice, related to this article is Red Notice, Johnson, Gadot, and Reynolds film drops first scene. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So, based on the popular 1812 German fairy tale Snow White by Brothers Grimm, Walt Disney Productions animated feature back from Snow White 7 Dwarfs had initially hit theaters way back in December 21st of 1937, starring some voices Adriana Caselotti as Lucille Laverne as Snow White and the Evil Queen, respectively speaking. Now, the film is one of many adaptations of Snow White to hit screens over the years, though it's arguably the most famous of the bunch by the considerable margins. Now, Snow White was most recently adapted into live action via the Universal 2012 film we know Snow White and the Huntsman, and its 2016 sequel, The Huntsman's Winter War. Now, both films, the Evil Queen, dubbed Queen Ravenna, who was played by Charlize Theron, also Snow White and the Huntsman also starred Kirsten Stewart as Snow White and Chris Hemsworth as the Huntsman, now later of whom has reprised his role for the Winter's War. Now, Stewart has meanwhile did not return for the sequel, now only appearing to the archive footage. Now, related to this article, Gal Gadot was ready to walk away from Wonder Woman 1984 after her salary. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about someone else. So Gadot is perhaps best known for her role as Diana Prince Wonder Woman from the Warner Bros. DC Extended Universe. Now, after portraying the comic book character in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, Wonder Woman Justice League, Wonder Woman 1984, and both parts of Zack Snyder's Justice League, she is expected to reprise the role once more for the planned third Wonder Woman movie. Now, Gadot is also known for her role in the Fast and Furious franchise, having played the character of Giselle Yashar in Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, and Furious 7. That's a lot. So, upcoming live-action treatment of the Snow White 7 Dwarfs is the latest example of Disney producing a live-action remake or spin-off of one of this classic animated films back from the 30s. But of course, with other recent examples including Cruella, Mulan, Lady Trim, Lion King, Aladdin, Dumbo, Beauty Beast, Jungle Book, and Cinderella. That's all the live-action examples that Disney's done thus far. But in addition to Snow White, other upcoming projects include Peter Pan and Wendy, Little Mermaid, Pinocchio, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Bambi, Hercules, Sword of Stone, Robin Hood, Lilo and Stitch, and Tinkerbell, as well as sequels to Jungle Book, Lion King, Aladdin, Cruella, and Aladdin. We'll also get in a spin-off film focusing on the character of Prince Andors. But we're not here to talk about all those here. We're talking about some other stuff here as well. But of course, those are some of all the Disney movies in live-action format, in case you guys are curious about what is going to be coming in the next, 10-year span. There's a ton of live-action treatment movies from classic Disney films that Disney has decided they want to try to do. Okay, so now we're just going to CBR exclusives, and we are trying to find something good, because we're trying to find something good. Alright, okay, so now we're talking about Superman, the animated series. Now, I know we don't usually talk about animated series that much on channel Daniel Hutchins, but this is one of the rare moments where I actually might be able to, share about Superman animated series. So here we go. Superman animated series director has shared how she's cast Lois Lane and more. Now, the landmark voice and casting director Andrea Romano reveals how she assembled and directed the cast for the Superman animated series 18 hours ago. Now, if you watched any animated series from the mid-80s to the past couple of years, you've enjoyed the work of legendary cast and voice director Andrea Romano. While she's helmed beloved animated classics like DuckTales and Legends of Korra, Romano's most celebrated projects in cast and voice and directed animated series for films of the DC Animated Universe. Now, her acclaimed DC Animated Universe work, of course, includes Superman the Animated Series, which also celebrated its 25th anniversary this year, with the remastered home video release. Exclusive interviews with CBR, Romano reflected on her work on Superman the Animated Series, and shared some of her favorite cast stories from the hit animated series. So related to this article, Superman Animated Series Clancy Brown revels on Lex Luthor's villainy. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So with Superman Animated Series, you were still working with Bruce Timm and the crew at Warner Bros. Animation on projects like Freakazoid, or coming off the success of Batman Animated Series. What were you looking for as you were assembling cast for Superman? Now she said, with Superman we knew we wanted a different vocal quality than we had for Batman, but we didn't want the two series to be the same style. We definitely did not want them to repeat ourselves. While I hoped to bring in actors that I worked with before, we needed to create a style that was very realistic to the vocal performances so that it wasn't too broad or cartoony, if you will. But by this point in my personal career, I had begun to gain reputation for ensemble records, which meant the actors were all in the same room at the same time, which actors and I really like. There's been a snobbery about doing voiceovers from the late 80s, so everybody didn't do them. The only famous ones from my youth that I was aware of was Tony Curtis from Tony Curtis and the Flintstones, and Anne Margaret and Anne Margaret on the Flintstones. Very few celebrities did voiceover, but after the success of the Batman, Freakazoid, and a couple other series, I think that celebrities get hip on the fact that animation's been produced with real quality. Not that it wasn't before, but this was absolute quality of DC Universe at the time. It was real acting, and it was fun because I created fun sessions. People were talking to their friends, and if they did so in a session with us yet, not to talk me up with, we all had fun making these series. So my job was creating an environment that felt like the actors could explore, play, be safe, and do something broad if they wanted to. Or they could pull back and make it much more realistic. I would get the calls from agents representing celebrities that specifically wanted to do voiceovers from the animations and specifically the DC types of stuff. I would keep a list of the actors, and when a new character would pop up if needed to be in cast, I'd look at on the list. Suddenly we had many more people and bonuses to that list. And so, when you know an actor's on camera work, you know whether they're good actors or not. That was always my number one requirement. They had to be a good actor. Now next, I can teach voiceover, as far as how not to pop on microphone, not to breathe deeply in the microphone, not to take an audible breath when you speak. Those are all kind of things I teach in a 4-hour session, but I cannot teach acting in a 4-hour session. I'd bring on an on-camera actor who I knew could act and pair them with other people and always try to surround them with experienced voiceover actors so they can learn. A lot of people learn how to do this on their job, and we had fun. It's a very fun series to make. Now related to this article is Batman hints at the DC Extended Universe's hero future in the DC Animated Universe. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So as a kid, I never knew Dana Delaney voiced both Lois Lane and Andrea Beaumont in Batman Mask of Phantasm. She differentiated her performances so well. What was this idea behind bringing Dana back to series regulars for Superman? Because she was so darn good. Laugh. So, of course, she was so good in Mask of Phantasm, which is one of my favorite films ever made way back then. She's not only a good actress and understands what she had to do, but she had fun. I always like to think of this casting as a project, as a casting as a party. Who do I want it together at this party? Who's going to have fun? Who's going to bring someone to this party? She absolutely fits all these categories. So why not give this girl a chance? The question is, when you get the project that's probably going to be recorded once a week for at least a year, with ADR for another year after that, some actors who are all film actors can't commit to that kind of time. Now Dana could easily do the Mask of Phantasm as far as time was concerned, but we had to talk to her and see if she was willing to make herself available for what we need for productions. Now everybody that auditioned, we asked if they were willing to make themselves available, and if they can't, we couldn't consider them for the regular role. We could give them a guest role or whatever, but Dana was absolutely willing and always did make herself available for our production, and she was just darn good. I remember when she auditioned, I always walked actors up to the microphone and chat up with them, and make them feel comfortable in the room. Because in addition to being a bit of a trial, you're being judged if you can be a bit intimidated. Now, really good actors can be intimidated by audition process, so I try to make them really feel comfortable. So I walked Dana up to the microphone, chatted her up, and went back into the booth. So asked if she was ready. She said, "Okay, this is Dana Delaney as Lois Lane." There was a dead silence. She doesn't speak as I asked if she was okay. She says, "I'm just letting those words wash over me. I waited so long to hear somebody say I could be Lois Lane." And then she laughs. It was so charming that this established actress has such a desire to play her character. Put all together, you get a brilliant Lois Lane. The other big returner you got in this late great Ed Asner as Granny Goodness, after he was previously Roland Dragon and Batman and Cosgrove on Freakazoid. Oh yes, let's not forget Freakazoid contributions. That was a fantastic character. He would always say such ridiculous things. That's how we really knew this stunning and crazy good actor had really good sense of humor. It was Bruce Timm's idea, and we believe it was Bruce who brought it to me. I begin to think that I didn't come up with the idea for Ed Asner. No, Bruce asked me if I thought Ed Asner would play a female character. I said, "What's the worst that could happen?" He says no, so let's offer that to him. And Ed is still in my mind such a wonderful actor and such a great person. I remember his work on Witchman, Poor Man, and Stunning, and his power was almost scary, because even if you know your stuff as the director, he had challenged you and would put you on your spot. I always knew my work anyway, and that I was fully ready to go before guys were recording, so I reached out to him and said, "Here are the character designs, what a character is. Would you be interested in playing her?" Well, that's a good question, because theirs wasn't even a second of hesitation. He just said, "Absolutely. When do you need me?" I played the role for many different projects and was just crazy good. I do love those silly casting things. Related to this article, Justice League reveals why Wonder Woman fell for Darkseid in DC's wildest worlds. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So in addition to Ed, you had all these great guest stars like Malcolm McDowell, Brad Garrett, and Roddy McDowell. Now I always was so grateful when they said yes. Malcolm McDowell wanted to play with us, and he was so marvelous and wonderful as Metallo. The temptation with the kind of character is to make the voice robotic, and that the easy way out, and he didn't choose to do that. It was such a beautiful performance for that character. Roddy McDowell, my God, he was stunning. Just a ridiculously good actor. Brad Garrett I've known for millions of years, and this was way before everybody was Raymond. And he was a voice-over actor as well. He had experience doing that, and he knew what to do. He got to the Bilbo and the dock. He got to be Bilbo the dock worker and Lobo, and the another guy who just had a great time. He really liked doing it, but as soon as he started, he got to a success. And we were so happy for him, and as we should have. He became someone who could command a lot of money, and it was often or directives from Warner Brothers that everyone got paid the same amount and it was scale. So I would occasionally reach out to him and say, "I know you're getting more money sometimes, but do you want to come back?" And he would say yes, because we grew up in animation together. What a lovely person. So I'm so happy that of all about his success. So okay guys, that was just a little bit of some voiceover that I wanted to do from the director of Superman animated series and what she said. So let me know what you guys think about that. I thought it was interesting about having to share her quotes and her information and stuff regarding with herself and her how contributed she was as far as with that series. So okay, so we are going to be doing, well actually time check is 1 hour and 27 minutes. So we are, no, 1 hour and 27 seconds, not minutes, 27 seconds, not minutes. Okay, so now we are actually going to be talking about The Long Halloween. DC's Batman The Long Halloween Special #1 Comics Reviews. Now, this review is the Long Halloween Special 1, which has evoked some nostalgia to the original story, and is effectively told the new tale of the suspense, crime, and vengeance. Of course, story by Jeff Loeb, art by Tim Sale, and others, and of course published by DC Comics, and of course it was released on 10/26/21. So created in 1996 by the Eisner Award-winning team of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, Batman The Long Halloween has changed the course of Batman's history. This acclaimed classic comic series inspired several Batman tales like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. Their DC Comics series took place in the formative years of the Cape Crusader crime-fighting career, showing that him taking on Gotham City's organized crime syndicate. In honor of the Long Halloween's 25th anniversary, DC Comics reunited Loeb and Sale to pen the new mystery for Gotham Batman Long Halloween Special, which has sparked the new beginning of Loeb and Sale's world. Now, Batman Long Halloween Special #1 picks up from the end of Long Halloween sequel, Batman Dark Victory. The criminal, Julian Day, aka the Calendar Man, has sent his goons to rob a jewelry store. However, Batman foils this robbery in a blink of an eye, since Calendar Man commits crimes on holidays, and the attempted heist happened 2 days before Halloween. Now, Batman suspects that Julian Day is planning on a big comeback. Meanwhile, Gilda Dent has escaped from a mental institution to seek out her husband. Now, however, their joy is short-lived when the Calendar Man comes knocking on their door, as Batman lets Robin enjoy his Halloween with Commissioner and Barbara. Two-Face calls the detective for help. Related to this article, DC Catwoman Lonely City #1 comic review. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So, Loeb's story from the Batman Long Halloween Special #1 has taken readers back to Gotham City, too big for the mob and criminally insane to share. Now, the story branches into multi-narrative plots focusing on the lives of 3 characters. Batman managing the many facets of parenting, Two-Face, who wants to turn over a new leaf, and Calendar Man, who wants revenge on Holiday Killer for stealing his moniker. Now, book delves right into the thicks of the plot without missing a beat. Calendar Man's schemes thrillingly rise to the surface. Loeb weaves the dark, gothic tale. Now, one of the selling points to The Long Halloween was Tim Sale's artwork. His consistent lines of bold inking made dramatic panels for the fittingly exaggerated noir-themed action. Batman Long Halloween Special is the reminder of Sale's skills. The gritty close-ups of the characters, the serious tones of the book, and the gothic architecture of Gotham has created the gloomy atmosphere that serves the Dark Knight story well. Now, the colorist, the person who does colors, Brendan Wagner, paints the horizon using warm tones with the particular preference of red and orange hues, giving the issue the festive look for a spooky season. Wagner has used contrasting color tones to create a play of the light and the dark as the story takes the drastic turn for the former district attorney. Related to this article, DC's Nubia and Amazon's #1 comic review. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So despite being away from Gotham City for over 2 decades, Loeb has not lost touch with the world he created with Sale. He depicts the Batman who is ruthless, brutal, and angry, but has matured as well. And the highlight of this special is the budding friendship between Gordon and Batman, stemming out their mutual respect. Sale deftly blends this narrative with his artwork, creating delectable splash pages that have totally matched the grim story Batman Long Halloween Special. Number 1. It's the nostalgic ride that feels more like the new beginning of the ending. Okay, so that's just a little bit about the new book that was released, the DC's Batman Long Halloween Special, number 1. Now, I just thought it was interesting that you actually had the original artists come back and redraw and rewrite the book of the Long Halloween. Okay, so we are trying to find something else. So now, Dark Knights of Steel has unveiled medieval Bat Family. Okay, so this is a new Batman series that's out right now by Tom Taylor and Yasmin Putres. Now, of course, Batman in the Dark Knights of Steel as a fantasy epic leading a small army of Robins in a battle against the force of magic. Now, this was from yesterday. Now, there are spoilers for the new story Dark Knights of Steel number 1, which is on sale from DC Comics. Batman leads a group of medieval Robins to the new alternate universe fantasy we know series known as Dark Knights of Steel, written by Tom Taylor and illustrated by Yasmin Putres. Now, in this alternate world of DC Comics series, young Bruce Wayne serves as the knight in service of Court of El, a kingdom set by Superman's parents, Jor-El and Lara, who both escaped from their dying world of Krypton, wearing the bat-shaped helmet and wearing a sword. So, of course, Bruce travels the countryside to hunt down the users of the magic, and one force in the realm that can harm the El family has assisted him on a mission is the collections of the youths that Bruce refers to as his Robins. Now, the latest article, Tom Taylor calls Dark Knights of Steel his biggest Elseworld story yet. Okay, so nearly all the Robins from every mainstream DC comic continuity have been present and accounted for, including Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Stephanie Brown, Duke Thomas, though he only briefly wore a Robin costume 2015-2016 series, but we are Robin before assuming the identity of the Signal, who also has appeared, and it is also hinted that Batman has at least one other Robin acting as the spy in the court of King Jefferson, a rival monarch based off of Black Lightning. Now, this is likely the Dark Knights of Steel's version of Tim Drake, or possibly Cassandra Cain, who we also know, and who are both revealed on a Dan Mora variant cover of issue number 1. Now, Dark Knights of Steel has cast the Gotham characters, which also includes Alfred, who acts as the servant and counselor to both Bruce Wayne and the El family. Now, also Harley Quinn, who appropriately wears as a jester of the El Court. Now, the characterization of all these members of the Bat family has remained familiar despite this medieval world of swords and sorcery they inhabit. But for instance, Bruce chastises Jason for knocking out the innkeeper, murmuring an alarming amount of attempts at diplomacy's end with someone comatose. Someone who is in a coma. That's what comatose means. Now, meanwhile, Harley Quinn teases Bruce as he returns from a mission, flicking at the horns of his helmet and exclaiming, "You're so dark and brooding," but with the little ears. Dark Knights of Steel number 1 ended with the revelation that Bruce Wayne of this world is a half-brother of Kal-El, the son of Jor-El and Lara. His Kryptonian blood has enabled him to withstand great injury to the ties him, the very magic users that he spent his days in hunting. Future issues are teased to have a confrontation between Batman and Green Arrow, who also assassinates Jor-El with an arrow from afar in issue number 1 shocking conclusion. So that is crazy, though. I mean, in another multiversial storyline, you have Batman is part of the L family, and then of course his Kryptonian blood enabling him to withstand injury and closer to other magic users from the days of hunting, and then also the fact that you have Green Arrow being able to assassinate Jor-El at the conclusion is actually pretty freaking big, yo. Because like I said, I mean, who would have been creative enough to think this idea is a genius, man. Whoever created this multiverse story is a genius. I give them complete respect for everything they did with this first issue. And I'm really hoping that the series that they have with Dark Knights of Steel, I'm hoping that it will continue to go forward because, like I said, with that shocking conclusion of Jor-El getting shot with an arrow by Green Arrow is actually pretty freaking crazy. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like I said, we are an hour and 11 minutes and 39 seconds. Well, actually, now we're 1 hour, 11 minutes and 40 seconds, going on 1 hour, 11 minutes and 50 seconds. But anyway, we are going to be doing one more article, and then we are going to close out this mega long article discussion. So yeah, pretty crazy. Alright. It is already 6:12 on my computer right now, and my alarm clock says 6:13 because, like I said, my clock on my speaker on top of my mini fridge is actually a few minutes fast. So we are going to actually be wrapping out this mega long article discussion with one last thing about the Batman, and then I'm probably going to be bringing mega long article discussions more throughout the month of November, because there's so much great stuff in comic book universe. So as the Silver Age Batman villain returns with a diabolical twist on his powers. Now the preview of another Batman stories, the Arkham City The Order of the World #2, returns the 50s Batman villain to the comics in a disturbing manner with the twist on their own power. This was 2 days ago. So, the 6-issue series we know as Arkham City The Order of the World has reintroduced the classic Batman villain from the Silver Age, with the deadly new interpretation of his powers. Double X has made his appearance in issue #2 of the series, locked in his basement of Drug House. Instead of serving up illicit substances, the owners of this house have decided to peddle up Double X's unique powers, which can deliver the high like you've never seen before. Now, despite Double X's whines and protests, the unwitting visitor takes the hand of escaped Arkhamite and has experienced the out-of-body rush that nearly explodes off your pages. Of course, related to this article is DC Extended Universe Suicide Squad character goes cannibal in Arkham City's first issue. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So, Double X, or Dr. Double X, as he was formerly called, made his debut in 1958. The Amazing Dr. Double X. He was published in Detective Comics #261. He was originally a scientist known as Dr. Simon X. Double X discovered a way to control the energy auras surrounding human bodies. He's also amplified his aura, which essentially created a duplicate of himself to aid in crime sprees. His doppelganger has crossed paths with Batman and Robin multiple times and has resulted in strains on Double X's mind, which was too much for them to take. Fallen deep into insanity, Double X would eventually escape Arkham Asylum and use his duplicate to battle both Batman and Superman in the pages of 1982's Double X Meets Double Death, published in the World's Finest of number 276. Now, again, this is pretty awesome history here right now, guys. So the re-envisioned version of the Good Doctor was last cited in the pages of DC's 2014 Batman Eternal series. In that series, X was an Arkham physician who could project a powerful tulpa from his consciousness. Now, in issue number 24 of that, Batman's dispatched the tulpa using a batarang made by Knife Metal, one of DC's universe's unique alien substances. Now, the latest article, the Batman has featured one of Dark Knight's most powerful Arkham origin gadgets. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So Double X is not the only Batman villain to receive a grim interpretation from Arkham City, the Order of the World. Otis Flanagan, also known as the Ratcatcher, has also showcased cannibalistic tendencies in the first issue, issue number 1, emulating the nature of real-life rats who sometimes eat each other until extreme stress. Now, Arkham City, the Order of the World, follows the events of a day, a gas attack that killed multiple Arkham Asylum inmates, including Bane. Multiple members of Gotham's most notorious home for the criminally insane escaped into the city in the ensuing chaos, and the series is also focused on the Arkham's Asylum's last doctor, Jocasta Joy, as she has rounded up her patients. The avenging angel we know as Azrael, who has filled in for Bruce Wayne during the Nightfall event in 1990s, has also made an appearance hunting down escapees. So this is very awesome. So again, Arkham City, the Order of the World. And the variant covers we have down below are very, 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 very dark. Of course, written by Dan Waters, art by Danny, covered by Sam Wolf Connolly, $4 US, 32 pages, and there's this whole set of variants and photos below. And it was actually on sale in the USA back on November the 2nd of 2021. Of course, this is kind of like very, very, very dark images that follow down below. But Arkham City, the Order of the World number 2 is also written by Dan Waters and illustrated by Danny, with cover art by Sam Wolf Connery, with variant cover made by Yasmin Putri, and the issue goes on sale November 2nd. Like I just said, that was a couple days ago. So we're a couple days too late, but that's okay. Because like I said, it's pretty normal for time and time again here on Channel Daniel Hutchins. I talk about things that are recent or semi-recent. So at least to some of you guys is understanding. So right now we are about an hour and 18 minutes. Right now I have my show on my TV. I have it on loop. And I'm probably going to go up and get some coffee. Because my dad had left super early. He must have heard me when I was awake or something, but I don't care. My dad's pretty used to seeing me move around at night sometimes. But anyways, so yeah. My mom is actually taking a mental health day off from work today because of family drama. So again, I'm just trying to fill in my time, trying to do some stuff for myself. Again, TV stuff and YouTube stuff and comic book universe stuff and other stuff. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, if you guys like any of my content that I discussed in this mega long article discussion, please let me know in the comments down below my video. And of course, if you guys get a chance, please hit that thumbs up button. Let me know if you like this video. Now, if you don't like this video, that's okay. This stuff's not for everybody. But for those who are interested in my content, please continue to support my channel by following my videos on my channel in any way that you can. So anyway, again, hope you guys have a terrific Thursday, and I'll see you guys in some future uploads. Of course, it's going to be later today that I might do an upload, or it might be tonight that I do another one, or it might be tomorrow I do another one. Depends on what's all going down. But again, like I said, this is Daniel Hutchins. I'm your host of channel Daniel Hutchins, and I'm about to just kind of relax right now. I'm probably going to go up and see if there's coffee up in the pot, make myself some coffee, see if my mom's okay, and then, yeah, things are going to go pretty well, I think, as long as I give my mom some time to relax, and I get myself some time to just kind of hang out and do my stuff. All will be good. So yeah, it is. Right now it's 6:22 on my alarm clock and 6:21 on my computer. So yeah, like I said before, my alarm clock is a few minutes fast, but my computer actually does say 6:21. So 6:21 Eastern Time is the time where I am right now. So again, if you guys want to see more content, or if you guys want to see more mega long article discussions, like I had mentioned before, I said I was going to probably do a couple more throughout this month. If you guys want to see more mega long article discussions, please let me know in the comments below. Please let me know what type of characters or comic book characters or movies or comics you want me to talk about in comments below. And have an awesome, awesome, awesome day. And I'll see you later. Bye.